Hello and welcome to Spardha Lines, your one-stop destination for the civil services preparation, UPSC, KPSC and other relevant examinations. Today we have picked up a couple of important articles from the Hindu which are very significant from your UPSC and your KPSC examination point of view. Let's get started and look into the first article. As we have discussed in the past, we are also coming up with the MCQs. What we will do is we will start with the MCQs. All that you have to do is look at the question and answer it on the comment section and then look at the explanation. Let's look into the first article and the first MCQ. With respect to red sanders, which of the following statements are correct? The tree is valued for the rich red color of its wood and the wood is aromatic. Its IUCN status is near threatened. With respect to red sanders, which of the statements are correct? What is the question asking for? It is asking for the correct statement. But both the statements given here are wrong. So the answer to this would be none. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to red sanders, which is why we have taken this practice question. Let us try and understand what are these statements. When you look into the first statement reads, the tree is valued for the rich red color of its wood. Yes, this part of the statement is right, but the second part of the statement is wrong. Why? That is because this wood is not aromatic. We are not speaking about the normal sandalwood. If we speak about the sandalwood, where we speak about those present in the state of Karnataka, where you also have the Mysore sandal soap, so on and so forth, that sandalwood that we speak of is aromatic in nature. But when it comes to the red sanders, it is not aromatic in nature. So remember, the tree is red in nature, its wood is valued as well, but it is not aromatic in nature. So the first statement is wrong. When you look into the second statement, its IUCN status is near threatened. This statement is once again wrong. Why? Because when you look into the IUCN status, its IUCN status is endangered. So both the statements are wrong, which is why the answer to this would be none. When we speak about red sanders, what is it about red sanders? Yes, you got it right. There was a new movie called as Pushparaj. Yes, the statement which says Jukega Nahi, so on and so forth. So I'm not promoting that movie per se, but what I'm trying to say is, yes, that movie is about the red sanders. Where do we see the red sanders? In India, we see red sanders in Eastern Ghats. In case there is a question which says it is Western Ghats, no, remember it is not Western Ghats, it is Eastern Ghats. So the first important pointer is that it is along the Eastern Ghats. It can be seen in the state of Andhra Pradesh, in some pockets of Tamil Nadu and also in Karnataka as well. And this wood is not aromatic in nature, but it has its own state of uses. What are its uses? It is exported to a couple of countries, let's say for example Japan as well as China. They say it has some medicinal properties, and at the same time this wood is also used in making musical instruments. So what are the advantages and uses of it? One, it is used for making the musical instruments. It also has some medical properties, and as a result what you have is export of these wood from India to other countries as well. These are some of the important parameters from the preliminary examination point of view. This article further makes a reference to preventive detention. What is this preventive detention? When it comes to Article 22 of the Indian Constitution, it speaks about preventive detention. There are two types of punishments that we have. One is called as punitive detention. The other is what is called as preventive detention. So in detention, what we have is two types. One is called as punitive in nature. The other is what is called as preventive in nature. What is this punitive detention? Punitive detention basically means that a person has committed an illegal act. Because he has conducted an illegal act, the court looks into the arguments, evidence, everything and literally convicts this person. So the minute a person is convicted because he's committed an illegal offense, he is thrown behind bars, and that is what is called as punitive detention. So in punitive detention, he has committed something which is wrong, and as a result he is convicted and thrown behind bars for a subsequent number of years. This is what is punitive detention. Then what we have is called as preventive detention. What is the preventive detention? In preventive detention, it basically means that a person may not have conducted an illegal act, but there is a clear picture that a person may conduct an illegal act. To prevent this illegal act from occurring, what we have is a preventive detention. So this person will be kept under the control of the executive, the investigating agencies, for a brief period of time, which is called as preventive detention. In punitive detention, a person has committed an illegal act. In preventive detention, he is not committed an illegal act, but he may commit an illegal act. So in order to prevent it, he is put under preventive detention. Who can make laws on the preventive detention? When it comes to the preventive detention, both the central government as well as the state government would be able to make the laws. So remember, both can do it. The state governments can do it with respect to law and order, public order, so on and so forth, and the central government can also do it with respect to the friendly relations, sovereignty, so on and so forth. So both the central government and the state government would be able to make the laws when it comes to the preventive detention. Now let's look into the next practice question. Gelafu, recently seen in news, is part of which country? Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka. The answer to this is Bhutan. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article on the Hindu makes a reference to this place called as Gelafu. So where is Gelafu? Gelafu happens to be a place in the country of Bhutan. So in Gelafu, what they are planning to develop is a smart city, and this will be with the assistance of the Indian government. So this can be very important, because recently we have had China and Bhutan speak about some of the border issues, and in the light of border issues, India is also entering into an understanding to develop some of the smart cities in Bhutan. So the smart city that India would be developed along the border areas of India and Bhutan happens to be Gelafu. So there are plans for a smart city at Gelafu on the border city of Bhutan and Assam, first pointer, and there will also be a rail link between Gelafu and Kokrajhar in Assam to be built by India. The second rail link is about 18 km between Samtse. So Samtse happens to be another place which can also be asked in your preliminary examination. So where is Samtse? It happens to be another place in the country of Bhutan, and Bharhat in West Bengal tea gardens. And then it further makes a mention of Halbidari in West Bengal to Chilagatti in Bangladesh. So where is Chilahatti? Chilahatti is in Bangladesh. This can be another important factor. So where is Chilahatti? Chilahatti happens to be a place in the country of Bangladesh. These are some of the important places that have been in news and can possibly be asked in your preliminary examination. Then there is International Airport at Gelafu as part of the larger Sarpanch District Special Economic Zone, which happens to be a new initiative expected to be announced by the Bhutanese king. Further, India and Bhutan agreed to designate Daranga Samudra Jokha border crossing between Assam and Bhutan's less developed southeastern district as an immigration checkpoint, another important factor which are the places in news. And finally, this will strengthen the trade infrastructure, and we will upgrade the existing land custom stations, and this will be called as the modernized integrated checkpost. So these are the places in news which can possibly be asked in your preliminary examination. So the two places in news, one is Gelapu, where we will have the development of a smart city, and then we also have Samse, which happens to be a place in Bhutan, and Chilahatti happens to be a place in Bangladesh. Remember, all these can be possibly asked in your international relations paper as well as in your preliminary examination as well. Now let's look into the next practice question. Chief Information Commissioner is appointed by the President on the recommendation of a committee. It does not include Prime Minister as the chairperson, Leader of Opposition in the Lok Sabha, Union Cabinet Minister nominated by the Prime Minister, Chief Justice of India. So there is a committee. This committee will basically decide who will become the Chief Information Commissioner. What is the question asking? The question is asking that you will have a committee which will decide who the Chief Information Commissioner is, who is not in this committee, and the person who is not in this committee happens to be the Chief Justice of India. So we have the Chief Information Commissioner who is appointed by the President. He is appointed by the President on the recommendation of a 3-member committee, and the 3-member committee will basically include the Prime Minister as the chairperson, Leader of Opposition in the Lok Sabha, and Union Cabinet Minister nominated by the Prime Minister. Why have we taken this practice question? Because this article says Heeralal Samariya is Chief Information Commissioner, and which is why we have taken this practice question. How is the Central Information Commission constituted? Under the provisions of Section 12 of the RTA Act of 2005, the central government shall, by notification in the official gazette, constitute a body known as Central Information Commission, and this Central Information Commission shall consist of Chief Information Commissioner and such number of Central Information Commissioners not exceeding 10 as may be determined necessarily. So we have the Prime Minister who shall be the chairperson of the committee, a Leader of Opposition in the Lok Sabha, a Union Cabinet Minister to be nominated by the Prime Minister. It is this 3-member committee which will decide who will be the Chief Information Commissioner. They will give the recommendation to the President of our country, and it is the President who will ultimately make the appointment. So all these are very, very important from the preliminary examination point of view. Section 12 of 5 of the RTA Act provides that the Chief Information Commissioner and Information Commissioners shall be the persons of eminence in public life with wide knowledge and experience in law, science and technology, social service, management, journalism, mass media or administration and governance. The Chief Information Commissioner or Information Commissioners, as the case may be, shall hold office for a period of 3 years, again important, from the date on which he enters upon his office. These are some of the important preliminary factors that you have to remember from the examination point of view. Now let's look into the next article. This article is from the mains examination perspective. We did look at the MCQs which can probably asked in your preliminary examination. Now what we have is an important article which is very, very, very important from your GS paper 2, which is about governance. It is also an aspect of your Indian polity as well. What is this article speaking about? The article here is speaking about net neutrality. Why are we discussing about net neutrality? What is the context in picture? We have the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, at the request of the government, has invited a comprehensive consultation on the need and possible mechanisms for regulation of the over-the-top services. It seems that this has still the hornet's nest. First important factor that we have to understand is, what is this over the top services? We speak about the OTT services, we speak about the over the top services. What are these over the top services? Let's say for example you have Netflix, or for example Amazon, or we use messaging applications like WhatsApp. These are nothing but the OTT platforms. What is this article speaking about? The article here is speaking about the concept of net neutrality. It is also speaking about the concept of OTT as well. First, let us understand what is the meaning of net neutrality. When we speak about the concept of net neutrality, as the very name denotes, what we have is the internet. And what is the internet doing? It is providing them the services. So what we have is the internet service providers. Who are the internet service providers? Let's say for example we have Airtel. Airtel happens to be the internet service providers. Let's say you have the Airtel SIM. Airtel SIM is what you have put up on your phone. So it is providing you the internet services. So Airtel is the internet service provider. Or let's say for example Jio happens to be an internet service provider, or you are taking the broadband connection. In that particular case you have ACT, which happens to be the internet service provider. Or let's say for example you have BSNL. BSNL happens to be the internet service provider, or it can also be some of the local ones like the Hathway, so on and so forth. So all those people who are providing you the internet are the internet service providers. What is the connection between the internet service providers and net neutrality? Let me explain this. For example, today if you are using Amazon, what would you be able to do? You would be able to access Amazon as equally as YouTube, as equally as, let's say, Amazon Prime videos, or let's say Netflix, or for example Z Cinema, so on and so forth. It means that the amount of speed that you would be able to use the internet is equally applicable for all platforms. So whether you are using Amazon, whether you are using YouTube, whether you are using Flipkart, or you are using any website, or you are using any streaming channel for watching the videos, irrespective of which OTT platform, whether it is Netflix, whether it is Prime Videos, whatsoever it is, or any website on the internet, you would be able to use the internet websites irrespective of which website that it is on an equal basis. So there is parity. So the speed with which you would be able to watch the video or browse from the internet will be same. That is what is called as net neutrality. So the internet that is provided by the internet service providers, you would be able to access the website as well as the videos irrespective of their content equally at the same speed. But what is the net neutrality factor which is going to be checked? As of now, net neutrality means you would be able to see all websites, all videos, irrespective of which website, who is owning it, at the same speed as well. But what would change if net neutrality is violated? What would happen? Let's say, for example, you would have, let's say, Facebook, or let's say, for example, Instagram, which is owned by Meta. Historically, there was something called as Orkut. I mean, many people would not know, but then Orkut was also one of the programs or the social media platforms which was created by Google initially. So let's say, for example, as hypothetical example, we have the internet service provider. The internet service provider happens to be Airtel or Jio. Now let's assume for a moment that Airtel has entered into a contract, or Jio has entered into a contract with Meta. So what do? They say that because Meta has entered into a contract with Airtel or Jio, we would be providing high bandwidth to Meta, but then we have Orkut, which is from Google, which has not entered into any contract whatsoever. So in case people want to access Orkut, they may have to pay extra, or they can also say that since Meta has entered into an agreement with Airtel or Jio, they would be able to provide at a maximum speed. So you would be able to browse the features of Meta, that is Facebook or Instagram, in a very fast and a easy manner. But when it comes to Orkut, you would not be able to access it. The speed would be very slow, and you would not be able to load an image or a video. So it means that the speed at which you would be able to access Meta's profiles and Meta's programs is not equivalent to that of the Google's profile like Orkut, which basically means that it is violating the net neutrality principle. In net neutrality, irrespective of who owns the platform, irrespective of who is running that particular platform, you would be able to use the website and the program, that is the OTT platform, on an equal basis. So there is parity. The bandwidth that is provided will also be same. But when the net neutrality is getting violated, what would happen? Some parties might have entered into a contract with the internet service providers. Only for them there will be maximum bandwidth. Only for them there will be more speed as well. For those who might have not entered into an agreement with the internet service providers or with the service providers like Airtel or Jio, for them there will be minimal speed. Some images or some videos will not work. So how the internet is today? Internet, you can access, use any website or application you want and download information from it at the same speed, irrespective of the website or the application it is. However, if the net neutrality concept is getting violated, and if each of the platforms are treated differently, individually, in that case, access to certain websites would be allowed for a premium, higher price, bandwidth shortening, as well as this could lead to other issues as well. So only those who would have entered into an agreement or otherwise as well. Let's say, for example, there will be a package. Let's say you will have messaging apps, or let's say, for example, social media or voice over services or email services. You would be able to buy the messaging apps, let's say, for example, at 100 rupees. So in case you're buying it at about 100 rupees or $100, you would be able to get that particular product or the stream of services at so and so pricing. Or let's say if you're picking up social media services like, let's say, Facebook or Instagram, this is available at $50 or at about, let's say, 1000 rupees. Or if you want to buy all these services together, you have to pay around $1000. Only then you would be provided services. So if the internet service providers come up with such an appeal saying that they would provide so and so services for so and so money, then that is the violation of net neutrality. So this is what we have to understand. Why is this in picture? Why is this in discussion? That is because we have the internet service providers who now go on to say that we as the internet service providers, we invest a lot of money on the infrastructure. What is the infrastructure? They have to buy the space, the bandwidth from the government, and they also enter into an auction as well. There will be a lot of competition as well. They enter into an auction and they buy the bandwidth from the government, and when they buy the bandwidth from the government, they are investing a lot of money, and at the same time they also have to put huge towers as well. So they are putting on the infrastructure. They also have to pay the people their salaries in case your internet is not working. Someone else comes to your place and checks if the router is wrong, the internet has an issue. So they are putting in a huge amount of infrastructure, for which what they are providing is type of services. What are the services they are providing? One, the services that they are providing is calls. So you would be able to call the people. The services that they are providing is SMS, where you would be able to message the people. And what is the other service? The other service is the data. So we are putting a lot of money into the infrastructure. We are providing these types of facilities to you. But when it comes to WhatsApp, what is WhatsApp doing? It is making use of our internet and it is giving you free messaging. It is not charging anything. It is also providing free voice calls as well, and as a result we are the major sufferers, say the internet service providers. Ideally, what is the revenue generation model for these internet service providers? These internet service providers, or let's say for example service providers like Airtel and Jio, get their money from the calls, SMS as well as data. But they now go on to say, since we are providing the infrastructure, we are providing the calls, we are providing the SMS, people are not using it. Why? Because of WhatsApp. Because WhatsApp is providing it free of cost, or any other platform for that matter. It can also be Telegram as well. They are providing free of cost. It is ultimately causing loss to us, and as a result WhatsApp, which is being providing you free of it, and it is also making use of some of the advantages of WhatsApp, they have to pay to us, says the internet service providers. So the internet service providers are now saying that we are the ones who are providing the infrastructure, and WhatsApp is using our internet as the infrastructure, and then it is ultimately making profits from it, and we are not making any profits because WhatsApp is providing free messaging, free calls as well, and as a result we are going through a loss. So WhatsApp, if it is taking money, it also has to contribute a certain percentage of it to Airtel or Jio, is what is this that has been discussed. It is in this particular backdrop the author brings on couple of important arguments. What does the author say? The author says that voice calls and short messages come under the pressure, which we did discuss. They also say that we are the ones who are upgrading the infrastructure, and as a result what we can do is that these OTT services, let's say for example we have Netflix. What does it do? It makes use of the internet. Who is providing the internet? We are the ones who are providing the internet. They are reaping a lot of benefits. So from the profits that they are making, a certain percentage should be given to us who are the internet service providers, says this article. But however, they are also making a lot of profit when it comes to the internet service providers like Airtel or Jio. What they have is a surge in the data consumption. So because they are the ones who are providing the data, they can charge on the data and not gain or seek the profits from these OTT, is what is this article as a whole. So the OTT consultation has renewed the clamor from telecom companies that content providers such as Netflix, Amazon Prime and Disney Hotstar have been asked to share in the cost of the bandwidth. So they have been requested to pay a certain percentage of it. They argue that streaming platforms are free riders benefiting from the infrastructure built and maintained by the telecom companies. But then the author goes on to say they are the ones who are driving the internet. In case you want to make more profits, you have something called as the charges that you are also paid. Let's say for example I am charging my mobile phone for 3000 rupees, or I am charging for my mobile phone for 700 rupees. Increase this rate. That is at your disposal. You cannot ask for a certain percentage from Hotstar or for example Amazon Prime or any other OTT platform. What is at your disposal? That is you can charge for the data consumption, you can charge for the calls as well. If you wish to, you can increase the price and not seek profit from the from the company, says the author. So telecom companies are at the liberty to increase their prices and not seek for profit sharing from these OTT services. In fact, the OTT services, they also compete a lot. They also provide HD clarity video. They also provide better resolution. They also work on 5.1 surround sound and so on and so forth. They also have their own set of upgrades that they also bring. They also have their own infrastructure as well. In case you want to do it, you do it at your disposal. Increase the price. This is what the author says. So it is the marketplace which decides what amount has to be done. So these two are two distinct markets. One is the internet service provider, the other happens to be the OTT. Both of them are different services in nature and they have their own market. So if Airtel or Jio or any of the telecom companies want to gain more profits, they can increase the price, and that once again will be decided by the market, says the author. So charging both consumers and content providers at the same time is not good and it violates the net neutrality, says the author. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says how the personal data of 815 million Indians got breached. What is this article speaking about? So from the preliminary examination point of view, remember we have two important factors that you have to remember. One is called as PWN001. The other happens to be Lucius. So these two are very important from the preliminary examination point of view. So they can ask you a question that PWN001 was recently in use. Lucius was recently in use. What are these? These are the agents. These are the individual cyber hackers who have been able to take out our information and release into a dark web. So Lucius or PWN001 are the cyber threat hackers who have taken out the information like Aadhaar or some of the other information from the central repository and have released into a dark web, and as a result it can be a possible question in your preliminary examination. So what have they done? These two actors, that is the hackers or the cyber security actors, they have stolen the information of the Aadhaar and has ultimately put it into the dark web, and as a result number of people's users and their identity have been revealed on the dark web. At this point, what we have to understand is the concept called as the personally identifiable information. What is this personally identifiable information? As the very name denotes, personally identifiable information. It is that information about you which is present on an online database or the repository, which is, if given in the public, they will be able to identify that it is this and this person. For example, let's say I as a person, my name is Ajay. What do? I work as an advocate before the Honorable High Court of Karnataka. So I wear a glasses. I have a mole here and this, and then I have this shape of my face, which is there is certain aspects, and this is my iris scan, this is my fingerprint. So with this information that is there on the online database, one would be able to identify it is Advocate Ajay Narayan whose information is on the dark web. Similarly, you would also have some features as well, that you would also wear the glasses, that this is your iris scan, this is your fingerprint, these are the qualifications that you have, this is the information that you have given voluntarily to that particular organization or to the government. But then this information has been breached, this information has been leaked onto the online platform. But with that information, they would be precisely able to understand in nature that it is you whose information has been leaked. So that information which clearly identifies you as a person, in fact your name may not be present, but there is some information that is given out to you. So those information through which you are identified, I am identified, another individual is identified, is called as the personally identifiable information. So an information through which all of us would be able to identify who that person is called as the personally identifiable information. So if this information is gone into the dark web and if someone is buying it, it can be advantageous for such person, but it can be disadvantageous for you. Why is it disadvantageous for you? Because you have trusted an organization or an entity, you've given your information, but then when this information is stolen or thrown in public, then this is a breach of your privacy, and at the same time, let's say for example you have some health related ailments. So what would happen? This data is sold to the insurance company. So the minute your data is sold to the insurance company, what would happen? The insurance company in advance might know that you have certain ailments or certain health issues, so it will start bombarding you with messages, and the minute it starts bombarding you with messages, even if you don't want, you may buy that particular product. The messages are in such a way that you will die today itself and you would want to buy some health insurance or term insurance policies. And at the same time, remember, because they know that you have certain ailments which you yourself might not know, that there are some symptoms, they may also increase the premium of your health insurance as well. These are the ways as to how your data, when it is sold to the people, it could be harmful to you. So on one side, your privacy is getting violated, and some examples is as I told you in the present instance. So the government in this particular case and the minister has clarified that no, the information has not breached, but we are also upscaling the security. We are ensuring that no data is lost, and we are providing all the safeguards that is required in order to safeguard the information. So if we look into the data, India being one of the fastest growing economies of the world, ranked 4th globally in the malware detection in the first half of 2023. A separate vendor survey of 200 Indian IT decision makers produced data which said that 45% of the Indian businesses said they had experienced more than a 50% rise in disruptive cyber attacks. The report also found 67% of Indian government and essential service organization experienced over a 50% increase in cyber security attacks as well. So what is that we have to do going forward? Users should try to ascertain if the information was leaked in the data leak. Users should also be alert and approach emails from unknown sources with caution. So in case you receive an email which you do not know, don't click on the message, don't even look at the message, don't click on the links as well, and also initiate two-factor authentication, which means that in case you have your email ID, the email ID will have an ID and a password, and apart from that, what you can also look for is the OTP. Similarly, let's say if you're logging into your SBI account, or let's say you're logging into your HDFC account, or let's say you're logging into your ICICI account, two-factor authentication is important, where one you will have is a user ID and password, and similarly you will also have is an OTP that comes to your mobile which will validate, and only then you can log in. So enabling these two factors are also important. Such will prevent the data breach is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about the initiative undertaken by Quad. So this initiative is called as the Indo-Pacific Maritime Domain Awareness. So in case there is a preliminary question which asks, IPMDA initiative was undertaken under which of these groupings? The answer to this is Quad. So it is Quad, which includes India, Australia, United States of America and Japan. These 4 countries have come together and they have started this initiative called as the Indo-Pacific Maritime Domain Awareness. This is a technology and training initiative to enhance maritime domain awareness in the Indo-Pacific region, to bring transparency to the critical waterways. This will ensure that there is a rules-based order in the international oceanic community, and all the shipments and dark ships that come in this particular area in the oceanic water will be kept under a check. There will be humanitarian assistance that will be provided, and in case of any threat or breach, the same will be forwarded to all the countries as well. IPMDA harnesses innovative technologies such as commercial satellite, radio frequency data collection to provide partners across Southeast Asia, the Indian Ocean region, the Pacific with real-time information on activities in the maritime zones. So whatever activities are taking place in the Indo-Pacific region, the same will be given by these countries. Cutting-edge maritime domain awareness picture provided under IPMDA supports the ability of Indo-Pacific partners to rapidly detect and respond to a wide range of challenges involving illicit maritime activities such as illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing, climate events and humanitarian crisis. So the illegal activities, unreported activities, unregulated fishing will all be kept under check as part of IPMDA. So the IPMDA happens to be an initiative of Quad, and Quad includes 4 countries: India, United States, Japan and Australia. These are the probable questions which can be asked in your preliminary examination. Now let's look into the next article. This article says more light, less sound. The article here is speaking about noise pollution. If you're keenly watching our daily current affairs discussion, we did discuss about the noise pollution earlier this week. So all that you have to do is look into that particular video to understand what are the sources of noise pollution, what is the law behind it, and what are the measures that have to be taken. Everything has been explained, but only point that you have to remember from this article is that we have designated state governments which has the power to regulate noise pollution, which means to say from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning you should not have noise pollution, which means to say someone cannot play loud music or there cannot be loudspeakers that are played, because from 10 p.m. to 6 p.m. it is time for you to sleep, and right to sleep is also your fundamental right under Article 21. This does not mean that when your mom comes and she knocks the doors and you say, I have the right to sleep, so you should not be disturbing. She'll give you a tight whack on your cheek and then she'll ask you to wake up. Yes, right to sleep is a fundamental right that is guaranteed under your Article 21, which is why we are speaking about it. So from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning, you should not have a disturbed sleep. So in case of noise, it will obviously disturb your sleep patterns. So this is how the state governments regulate. So from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning, you should not have noise pollution. So it should not be beyond a particular threshold, and if it is beyond a threshold, you can immediately call up your local police station and say that there is noise emanating from this source, kindly stop it. And there are about 15 days where an exemption is given. For example, in case there is a festival and if they have already sought out permission from the police officers, so there are exemptions that are there for about 15 days on an annual basis, or if they've sought the permission from the state police officers. In that case, you cannot do anything because these are the exemptions for about 15 days. But for the rest of the days, if you are sleeping and you feel disturbed by the noise, you can immediately call up the police station, ask them to control the noise that is emanating. And right to sleep is a fundamental right that is guaranteed under Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.